Okay, so well, it's we have asked Stefano, our colleague, to speak about the details of the project. I'm going through on a brief presentation of the framework of the project. But before that, I would like to say that the DigComp framework, the Digital Competence Framework for Citizens, has been in place since 2013, as you may all know it very well. It has gone through several updates. Currently, we have the version 2.2, which was launched or introduced last year. And we believe that all education and training offer, which is targeting digital competence development, should be based on the DigComp framework, which is a great achievement of the European Commission to introduce this framework. Of course, there are other key competencies and there are other frameworks supporting those key competencies, but digital is very important. And it's one of our digital strategic goal is to support the governance, the further development, and the implementation of the digital competence framework in Europe, but you might say, Stefano, not only in Europe, but also the rest of the world is very much interested. The DigComp framework, as you may know, has a structure. It defines 5 main competence areas, 21 individual digital competencies. Well, I haven't really started my presentation, just giving a bit of background on the framework. 8 competence levels and certain other dimensions that help trainers and educators to develop and implement digital competence training and education programs. So, as it's a strategic goal for all digital, we were looking for funding opportunities to introduce a hub, a place where educators and trainers can find a lot of information about the framework and which will help to use and implement the digital competence framework widely across Europe. So we established a partnership together with the Hellenic Open University, the European Grants International Academy, and Bantani Education. By the way, together with Bantani Education, we are working on a project which is building synergies between entrepreneurial competencies and digital competencies. So we obtained a grant through an Erasmus program, and the project started in January and will last for 30 months. So we have 2 main goals, basically. One is a policy goal and the other is an educational goal. The policy goal is to facilitate the adoption of the DigComp framework in adult education sector in Europe. We also want to create synergies between DigComp, the digital competencies and other competencies and other frameworks, and also to produce recommendations on how to further improve the digital competence framework. And of course, we have the education angle to support and engage adult educators, adult education providers to use the DigComp framework. In this project, our main target group are adult education providers and other organizations who are active in the field of digital education of adults. When we look at the objectives, we have 3 objectives. One of them is to continue developing and nurturing the DigComp COP, the community of practice, which has been existing for some time now, and we have more than 800 members, and our target numbers that we continue growing the membership. We collect and share resources, including best practices, reports, etc., which is showing how training providers are using the framework. And we are going to develop micro-learning resources and share in the COP. And Stefano will speak about more about the COP and its functions a little bit later. The second objective is basically a training and mentoring program. We are supporting professional development of adult education providers, trainers and teachers in adopting the DigComp framework through a short-term training and, importantly, a mentoring program. And if I can click, the last objective is a little bit of a promotion, a dissemination, a European campaign to promote the adoption of the DigComp framework in education activities. This is where we are in the project, quite at the beginning, over here, maybe on the second circle. We are in the process of designing the DigComp training and mentoring program, and later, in the later stages, we are going to implement this training and mentoring cycles. And I think, Stefano, you will talk about the call for existing inspiring experiences, and probably, if it technically works, I would like to finish by showing you a small video, and then I give the floor to Stefano.
The world is changing, and so is the way we work and live. The digital transition is a priority for the European Union, making it essential that citizens have the appropriate skills to access the job market and participate fully in society.
The DigComp Hub Erasmus Plus project
Aims at supporting adult education providers and educators across Europe in the use of the European Digital Competence Framework for all citizens,
also known as DigComp,
creating synergies among adult educators, policymakers, and other stakeholders. How to achieve this goal? Developing a community of practice of like-minded people around DigComp, in which to share experiences and knowledge. Create an online training and mentoring program to help adult educators to learn and use DigComp more effectively. Get as many adult educators in Europe to start using DigComp. Join us in driving the digital transition in Europe.
Visit the DigComp Hub website
and join the DigComp community of practice to learn more about our project and how you can get involved.
Okay, so I will go a little bit deeper into the issue of the community of practice. I don't know, well, many of you are part of this COP, but not all of you. And it was born in a few years ago, following a workshop that we ran in Bilbao with Anna, and Achilles was there too. And at the end of this workshop, we decided that the time had come to create a mechanism to put together to connect researchers, practitioners, and other people working on digital competence development that shared an interest on DigComp. So the COP was launched at the time. It has been run since then, mostly on a voluntary basis. All digital made available the Basecamp platform to run it. And during the DigComp 2.2 update process, there was also some expert support granted by the JRC. Currently, you don't see much, but the membership of the COP is over 800 people from about 80 countries all around the world. And it was a year ago 570 from 57 countries. So it's been constantly growing, and it's interesting because really there are people literally from any country around the world contacting the COP and saying, we are interested in DigComp, we are working on DigComp and so on, and we're looking for a place where to exchange ideas. This shows the composition of the COP in terms of categories of stakeholder. You see the majority, not surprisingly, is education, and I would say mostly we're talking about tertiary education, university people, so researchers, many people who are currently working on how to train students, university students and staff, teaching staff on digital competence. Many of the people who register from university have this concern, this interest. And then other, more or less equally, you see third sector, government and business. And then we have some international organization starting from the European Commission, but also UNESCO, World Bank, and others. In the past, what did the COP do? basically, it contributed. An important event for the development of the community of practice was the support given to the update of the DigComp 2.2, because at that time, for about a year, we started 12 thematic working groups, which took care of the different topics that were included then in the update. And it was a moment where many people joined the COP to participate to this process. Another activity that the COP has taken care of has been the supporting the translation of the DigComp reports. You know that for some reason, the DigComp has not been translated in all the language of the Commission. It's up to other frameworks have been translated, but this one not. So it's up to each country to do it. And we have made available in collaboration with JRC the graphical files and support of various types for the translation process. There have been some discussions every now and then on specific topics, the assessment of digital competence. Interestingly, many people are looking at how DigComp can be used to design and then design and also develop the training for what we call digital professional profiles. Again, this is where our friends from Icano's project have led the way, started doing this a few years ago. And so this is another topic that is quite, many people are interested in this. And finally, it's like all these kind of platforms, it's in a place where materials are exchanged, information about projects, search for partners, and so on. In the new, you should read the right side. This was the past. In the new project, DigComp Hub, the idea is to enhance the visibility and sharing of members' experiences with DigComp, especially in the, as Peter said before, in the adult education sector. So, as I will say in a while, we started last week, we launched this collection of inspiring experiences and reusable tools. And I will explain later how we plan to run it. Then there is the idea of collecting and sharing open educational and other resources that are produced by members of the COP, and explore and, as Peter said before, explore and promote synergies across the key competence frameworks in adult education. Because when we look at them, the frameworks from the point of view of the, let's say, the policy making, each framework has its own history, came out at a different time, has different topics and so on. But from the point of view of educators, increasingly we are hearing that it's a bit artificial. I mean, when you develop an educational proposal, yes, you may do it focusing more on digital competence, but very often you can do it in a sustainability related project or in an entrepreneurial initiative. So we want in this, through the DigComp Hub to start mapping and understanding how this is happening and how it can be done. So the call for inspiring experiences of DigComp usage, well, the aims are obvious: enhance the visibility and sharing of DigComp usage experiences. The interesting thing is that the COP is full of people who are doing very interesting things. I manage the registration process, so I see the form that people write when they register, and there is a field which is why are you registering, basically motivations and your interest motivation. And very often, not all of them, but very often there are people tell, we're working on this and that, and my standard message is when I say welcome, etc., is why don't you post what you wrote in the motivation message to the COP, because other people might be interested to hear about what you're doing. Nobody does it. So, and it's a pity, because there are really very interesting things happening. So we decided that we should probably take a more proactive role in this respect, and now with this project there are the conditions to do it. So we started to do this activity, to stimulate members of the COP to tell about their story and present their results and so on. And also we want to use this material most likely as sources of inspiration and study material for the training and mentoring activity. The experiences we're looking for in these inspiring experiences come from three environments: adult education, formal and non-formal, vet education, and also higher education. from within the COP membership, but of course beyond. So we started also dialoguing with other networks who work with this kind of interlocutors to help us disseminate the information about these experiences, this call. And we want to find significant use of DigComp, and we based on the previous research, we designed a kind of model. We modeled the steps, the typical steps that people who use DigComp in an educational setting go through in the use of DigComp, and we want also to test this modeling through this collection of new experiences, because this was done a few years ago. And well, for instance, with one of the first experiences that I will mention now, we already added one step which I had never found before and never thought about before, and of course we're looking for activities which have been completed or at least produced some interesting results. So we're not looking for a project being launched now and then we don't know what will happen with it. And the call has been open last week. We plan to keep it open until the end of the year, but then we will see, maybe even longer. There is a place where you can click to find the form, fill it, and so on. And the idea is the most significant experiences to present them in webinars for the DigComp COP and community and beyond, of course, as part of the DigComp Hub project, with a standard format, 1 hour, 20-40 minutes to present the experience and especially how DigComp was used, and then the rest of the time for questions and answer sessions. And the idea is to record these webinars jointly with the slides and with the form that are filled to create a kind of package, information package about the experience to disseminate. And okay, and the first two examples, so you will also be able to understand what we're looking for, are two experiences which will be presented during the All Digital Weeks. One on the 26th of April, both of them at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The first one is from an experience from one of our partners, Bruxelles Formation, and AFP, who developed a very rich range of activities using DigComp in Wallonie, in Belgium. And I was saying before that one of the interesting things they did was they developed they call it vulgarization or popularization version of DigComp. Because one of the problems that trainers normally highlight is that DigComp is difficult to understand. It's a framework with a difficult language, abstract, and so on. So good idea, and they did it, and this, for instance, is a step that a few years ago I had when we studied the experiences that went into the DigComp into action report. Nobody had done that, but now it's apparently some organizations started doing it. And the other one is a more focused experience also comes from Belgium, from the Flemish part. It's a web-based and learning environment which has been designed using DigComp to support, we call it civic integration. In fact, it's the joint learning of language, digital skills, and understanding of the labor market, because the topic of this environment is enabling people, migrants who come to Belgium to look for a job using all the digital services which are available today. So these are the first two experiences that we will present during the next 2 weeks. And thank you. This is it for the moment. And the next big challenge, and I would like to launch a message. We are starting to design the training and mentoring part. And if any of you has or is willing to contribute with your own experience and also reflections or researches that you may have done about the difficulties of using DigComp by educators, by adult educators, but also instructional designers. When we talk about educators, in fact, we're talking about different roles which may be playing inside an educational and training organization. If you have based on your experience, reports, suggestions, or anything, please share them with us, because it's going to be an important input for the design of the training and mentoring activity. Thank you very much.